is a 2012 model LCI. It looks like a 1M, but it's not. It's got a 1M replica body kit on it, which is a good thing because we've kind of built a, I guess, a combo of M3 and 1 Series and 1M here. So no one should get upset. It's not a genuine 1M, but it certainly goes the way that it looks. So let's have a look under the bonnet and you'll see what I mean. So obviously the front bar is a 1M replica bar, which allows more airflow and ducting for coolers that we now have. So there's an engine oil cooler in the nose, in the mouth down the bottom, which cools the engine oil for this thing. It's pretty obvious what that is, but for those of you that don't know, it's an S65 4-litre V8 out of a E92 M3. It's married up with the dual clutch DCT transmission that came out in the M3. Although this car did also have a DCT, it used to have an N55 twin turbo 6-cylinder engine, which they make power and they go well, and they can make a lot more power than these things potentially, but what you're looking at is a balanced car of a combination of power, naturally aspirated RPM, torque, grunt, all those things that people like in a V8. Right, so what have we got in the front? As I said earlier, we've got an oil cooler in the front here that cools the engine oil. That's been custom made to fit. The standard one didn't fit out of the donor car, so we just made something up with some lines. Goes to the same positions on the engine. We can't see a hell of a lot with these metal trims on here, but all the aluminium hardware that you see is all M3. So the cradle the engine's bolted to is all bolted up into the car to keep the engine position correct. And all the steering and suspension geometry has all been bolted up to that cross member. Moving through here, you can see the sump's had a baffle kit installed in it. Hence all the welding on the bottom there. It's part of the setup. So we did the rod bearings and rod bolts at the same time as doing all that work. These are the OEM V8 headers. I think they're titanium. They're super light and they work really well. They float 230 plus kilowatts at the wheels, no problem. So we left those in there. The engine hasn't been modified, so we've just left everything stock, including the cats, the engine pipes, the mid pipe through the resonators, back to here, and we just added another resonator and trimmed it down into the single system, which was already in the car. It's a nice stainless steel aftermarket axle back system here with 2 mufflers and quad tips. That doesn't restrict the power at all, so we've left that in there. Yeah, and that brings us down to the back, which has the LSD 210mm diff from the M3, the half shaft and the tail shaft there that's been modified to suit. This car's shorter, so we had to cut that down and rebalance it, but it's pretty well a standard M3 drive shaft. And yeah, that's about it under here. Cool. And super wide tyre. So I've been told that I've got big hands, which means that tyre is super big if we look at that in comparison. It's a 295, I believe. Yes, it is. So they bring the wheels right out with the 1M flares and the offset of that wheel. It really makes this car look cool when you're following it on the road.